Tucked away in Berlin's southeast lies a neighborhood like no other, Gartenstadt Falkenberg. Designed by the visionary architect Bruno Taut, it is more than just a collection of houses. It's a vision brought to life, a place where form, function, and artistic expression merge to create something truly special. As a UNESCO World Heritage-listed settlement, which predates World War I, it remains a living example of the early 20th century Garden City movement. In the late 19th century, the concept of garden cities emerged in England and quickly spread across Europe. It was designed as a refreshing alternative to the chaotic, overcrowded, and often unsanitary conditions of industrial cities. The goal? To create an open, socially inclusive community with ample greenery and a high quality of life. Many garden cities sprang up across Europe, but what makes Falkenberg stand out is its bold use of color and creative architectural diversity. The first phase of construction began with the Akazienhof, a cul-de-sac residential area. By September 1913, the first houses were ready for their new residents. In order to keep costs down, house designs and layouts were standardized. The living spaces were compact but efficiently designed, complete with a kitchen, bathroom, and private garden. At the time, most tenement apartments in central Berlin lacked bathrooms and typically had only shared outdoor toilets. Here, on the west side of the Akazienhof, two groups of single-story microhomes stand under a shared roof, a highly economical housing model of the era. On the east side, two-story housing groups provide more space. Inside, the lower level includes a living room and kitchen, while the upper level features 2 bedrooms, a small storage chamber, and a bathroom. Every house and apartment comes with its own garden, ranging from 135 to 600 square meters, about 1,450 to 6,450 square feet. During the summer, much of daily life moved outdoors. Bruno Taut referred to these gardens as outdoor living spaces, considering them just as essential as the interiors. For the landscape design, Taut enlisted the expertise of Ludwig Lesser, a renowned and socially engaged garden architect. Neatly arranged espalier fruit trees, climbing plants, tree-lined paths, and hedges carefully structured the outdoor spaces. Beyond their beauty, these gardens also provided residents with a level of self-sufficiency. Falkenberg was the first settlement to place such a strong emphasis on tenant gardens. Since Taut and Lesser meticulously designed the overall aesthetic, residents weren't free to plant whatever they wished. There were clear guidelines to maintain harmony. The result? A neighborhood that looks and feels like a living painting. Today, Gartenstadt Falkenberg is not just an architectural landmark, it's also a historically significant garden monument. At the heart of the Akazienhof, houses are arranged around a lush, tree-lined green space. Unlike traditional grids, the buildings are slightly offset, blending different house types to create a lively and organic feel. This prevents the settlement from looking monotonous or repetitive. One house in the settlement was not designed by Bruno Taut, but by Heinrich Tessenow, who had already played a key role in the design of the Hellerau Garden City in Dresden. Tessenow believed in simplicity and the functional elegance of reform architecture. His philosophy was summed up in his famous quote, "The simple is not always the best, but the best is always simple." Tessenow designed a detached home with a surrounding garden for Adolf Otto, the chairman of the cooperative. For years, this house was more than just a residence. It also served as the office of the German Garden City Society, where Adolf Otto worked as general secretary. As early as 1910, several trade unionists, social democrats, and reform movement leaders had founded the German Garden City Society. To fund the dream of a garden city, they established the non-profit building cooperative of Greater Berlin. Finding the right location, however, was no easy task. Local municipalities and landowners weren't keen on selling to them. They preferred wealthy villa owners instead of, as Adolf Otto put it, proletarians, atheists, anarchists, fruit and chicken thieves. At its core, the entire project was shaped by the spirit of the reform movement. However, the community itself was socially diverse, in line with the cooperative's vision of inclusivity. The first residents came from all walks of life, skilled labourers, railway and judicial officials, educators, poets, and even a widow raising 5 children on her own. Now let's continue our journey along Gartenstadt Lane, where you'll find an information board and a model of the settlement. Bruno Taut, still relatively unknown at the time, was entrusted with designing the settlement. His grand vision included 1,500 houses for about 7,500 people, as well as a dormitory, a festival hall, and shops. However, the outbreak of World War I abruptly halted construction during the second phase. In the end, only a fraction of the project was completed, 80 single-family homes, mainly built in rows or as semi-detached houses, plus 48 apartments spread across 6 rental buildings. Now, we've arrived in the central section of the second construction phase. This area features 12 standardized house groups, mirroring the concept used in the Akasienhof. The mix of 2-story apartment buildings and single and 2-story row houses provides a variety of living options. Apartment sizes range from small 1-room units with a storage chamber to spacious 5-room apartments. Here, you'll also find a plaque commemorating Bruno Taut, a tribute to the man whose visionary approach to housing changed the way people live. The Gartenstadt Lane rises toward the Falkenberg Hill, which influenced the design of the front gardens. On this side, the gardens slope steeply down to the street and are arranged in terraces. On the eastern side of the street, there is a mix of detached and row houses with lighter colors and different architectural details compared to the western side, which we will explore shortly. Several houses feature intricately designed wooden trellises and pergolas, as well as playful color and design elements on windows, facades, and shutters. With these simple yet effective measures, Taut ensured that each building had its own distinct character. At this point, I'd like to say a few words about Bruno Taut. Outside of architectural circles, his name might not be widely known, but he had a profound impact on housing design in Berlin. In fact, 4 of the city's 6 UNESCO World Heritage-listed settlements were designed by him. Taut was born in 1880 in Königsberg. After completing high school at a humanistic gymnasium, he apprenticed as a bricklayer in a construction firm that specialized in modern reinforced concrete structures. In 1902, he graduated with distinction as an architect from a school of building trades. Originally, Taut wanted to become a painter, but he stayed with architecture as a more secure profession and worked for various architects. However, this did not stop him from pursuing painting in his free time, creating countless nature studies. In 1909, he established his own practice in Berlin, and in 1910 was appointed to the Deutsche Werkbund, an influential German association of artists, architects, and designers dedicated to advancing modern industrial design. Taut was an architect, urban planner, designer, humanist, pacifist, idealist, utopian, reformer, and above all, an artist. Using modest means, careful detailing, expressive colors, and outdoor living spaces, he reformed housing and living environments. It was always important to him to design his buildings and settlements based on their specific locations, adapting to the natural surroundings both in structure and color. Let's move on with the western side of the street. Here the colors are more intense. Particularly striking is the black apartment building, which many people at the time found unusual. However, the dark color helps absorb more heat on sunny winter days, making it energy efficient. In contrast, the red and white patterns and white shutters stand out even more vividly. The row houses behind it are painted in red and black. Besides their individual colors, all the houses share common design elements: lively cross-textured plaster, red beavertail roof tiles with a uniform pitch, tall rectangular multi-pane windows, white-painted chimneys, and wooden elements such as shutters and pergolas. What I find remarkable is how well-maintained the front gardens are. This suggests that residents feel truly at home here. Some families have been living here for 4 or even 5 generations. As cooperative members, they have lifelong housing rights and the rent is affordable. A 60 square meter, 646 square feet apartment, for example, costs less than €500 per month, including utilities. Even in this colorful settlement, the blue house stands out. In many of Taut's projects, blue houses mark the corners of blocks. This particular shade is often referred to as taut blue. Can you imagine? For many years, these vibrant colors had faded so much that they were barely recognizable. Although the settlement had been under heritage protection since 1963 in the GDR era, a full-scale restoration and renovation of the houses did not take place until 1991 to 2003. At this point, I would like to highlight the work of the Office of Brenner Architects, who meticulously restored the original colors and carried out an exemplary renovation of the buildings. Special attention was even given to recreating the original plaster textures and mineral paint finishes. Because of its striking color scheme, the settlement soon became known locally as the Paint Box Estate. Whether this nickname originated from a child's remark or from painters working on the houses remains uncertain. Back then, Taut's boldly colored facades met with fierce resistance from conservative circles. The local administrations even sought regulations against what they saw as an eyesore. However, among the residents, the colors fostered a strong sense of identity and made the settlement famous. The sense of community and cultural vibrancy was especially evident during the annual Falkenberg Summer Festivals, held from 1914 to about 1934. These events were collaboratively organized and featured parades, theatrical performances, and other cultural activities that drew thousands of visitors from across Berlin. There is even a Falkenberg song that was sung back then and still is today. For Taut, bringing color to the city was not merely an aesthetic decision, but an ethical one. He believed it was about giving even the residents of the most dismal tenement blocks and courtyards a small piece of joy in their surroundings. For him, architecture was not just about creating living space, it was a social reform project. His designs were always centered on human needs. He firmly believed that architecture could contribute to social and cultural reform and have a profound effect on people's well-being. His strong sense of social responsibility was reinforced by his deep conviction in the power of art, and especially architecture, to shape lives. Taut valued artistic freedom over rigid standardization and rejected dogma. He sought a synthesis between traditional and modern construction. His goal was not to discard the past, but to build upon its best elements to create something new and meaningful. Since I have been studying the architecture of the 1920s more intensively and exploring the many settlements built during that era, I have grown increasingly fascinated by Taut's work, which means there will definitely be more videos about his buildings in Berlin, and I will share more about his life as well. Thank you for watching my video and supporting my channel. See you next time.